Oh, we're live.
We are live. Welcome to Waterfed Wednesday episode. I'm not sure what episode this is.
34.
34. There you have it. As you can see, I'm Alex Brunner.
Sean Gavin.
Sean Gavin's in the house.
Thanks for having me on your show.
Absolutely. Glad that the man, the myth, the legend can stop in. So,
perfect.
The title of this is Tucker Waterfed Brush Options and Best Usage. So, this is the beginning of the month, or what is today? All right. Is today the first?
First, rent's due.
All right.
Pay
You're
up.
the man. So, yes, it is the first. So, if you're heading over to our website, tuckerusa.com, you're going to notice that we have a banner going across, and it's our most requested sale, I think, of the year.
Yeah, safe to say.
The BOGO sale. So for today until October the 7th, we have our brush BOGO sale. All brushes, whether it's our Glide brush, all the way up to our Alpha Solar 20. It's all available. Buy one, get one. So it's not just you buy one and it's this. You get the same one, right? You can mix and match.
Mix and match. So the lesser of the two, from a cost standpoint, is the free one.
Gotcha. So
buy one, get one, equal or less the value, free of charge.
Very good.
Yeah.
And as with a lot of our sales, so this is available, like I said, at tuckerusa.com. But we also have this offered through our dealer network. So if you're in the Dallas area, head over to Dallas Window Cleaning Supplies. You're over in California, Escondido. We have Randy at Window Magic. Several dealers this is available to. So
yeah,
buy
absolutely.
direct or support your local dealers.
Yeah, dozens of dealers across the country. Power Wash World.
Yes.
In terms of the power wash industry, lots of different companies. And if you are a dealer and you have a coffee mug, send us one and we'll rep you on the show.
Absolutely.
Or in the office.
Our man Jamie is giving us a shout out. What's up, Jamie?
Jamie, Michigan. Detroit Sponge. That's another dealer.
That's right.
Great place to pick up some brushes this week.
So with that, oftentimes when we have these sales, or especially now in the fall season where we know we're getting more people into water fed, picking up before the final busy season of the year.
Yeah.
We get a lot of questions regarding brushes. What is the best brush? So we thought it'd be a great idea to kind of go over this, and let's get some insight. But first, I wanted to kind of talk about, in the years past, Tucker was always known for the nylon brush, which we discontinued. What was that? Sometime last year?
Yes.
Maybe?
Yeah.
And we went in favor with the Glide brush, which is, we got here somewhere.
We got props. Here you go.
Here is the Glide brush. So this is what you will get in any of our complete poles. Before it was the nylon. So maybe give us a little insight. Why did we make that change to go with this brush?
Sure. One of the key factors that we're constantly looking at is what's next, right? What's next for the industry? So it was actually 2 years ago, I think this month, I visited a number of our vendors and supplier partners around the country and visited with our brush manufacturer. And basically, I went in and we chatted about what's new and what's out there, right? If you're looking inside your industry, you're probably not going to find what's next and what's exciting. So we found a material that was being used a lot in the car wash industry. So safe on painted surfaces, clear coats, etc. So we knew right away it would be good for glass in terms of the safety aspect. But also in that industry, you're dealing with a lot of grit. Depending on the time of the year, you might have salt, all this road debris and stuff. So we knew it would have a real big scrub. So we started playing with that material and testing it. It's essentially the way it's marketed within the brush world, whether it's for our application or cars or whatever it is a synthetic boar bristle, because boar bristle is more and more expensive. And being a natural fiber, it has a lot of downsides that we can touch on in terms of kind of the cons of a boar bristle brush. So we played around with it for a while, and we really determined based on feedback that it was pretty close to on par with the natural boar, especially when you take into consideration some of the things that it removed regarding the cons of the natural bristle. So based on that feedback, we just kind of swapped out that brush for the nylon. We had done the DuPont nylon for decades at Tucker, and so it was time for something new in terms of what is our standard brush.
Yeah, and I would say that I think this really helped out with providing a good solution because previously when you get the water-fed pole, you got the nylon brush, and as a window cleaner that's been out there doing it, that really is only great for maintenance cleans.
Yeah.
And if you're new to window cleaning and you just got that and you went to your first time clean, you're like, oh, water-fed isn't any good because of that.
Sure.
But with this solution, I mean, this offers the best of, like you said, both worlds. You have that nice aggressive scrub, and yet, as the name indicates, glides across the glass. So you're not worrying about the drag. You can rinse with it on the glass. So
Yep.
A lot of advantages to it. High contact, or a lot of bristle contact on the glass. There is some differences. I know. So if you're used to the nylon, or one of my favorite brushes, I'll pull this out, was the hybrid, the nylon on the outside and boarhead in the center. That splay is there. So there is a little bit of difference in that, but I know that this is quickly becoming the favorite of everyone. I know Jamie, who's on here, this is his go-to brush, just for those reasons. Similar attributes to the boar, but way better.
Yeah, and it's not just about, when we look at a brush design, it's not just about changing the material, right? It's okay, do we want a dual trim or a single trim, right? So a dual trim, the hybrid that Alex was just referring to, is what we would call a dual trim. So the outside trim of the bristles, the nylon in this case, is taller. I'm not sure what angle we can do here to get that into the shot, but you can see the nylon here is taller than the boar bristle, right? So the outside trim is longer, and then it splays out on the glass when you push into it. So this is a dual trim brush. Tucker's historically done dual trim and as well as single trim. So this is a single trim brush where every length of bristles the same length. There's not an outside trim, and you don't need it due to the fact that it's a different material and it's going to act a different way. It's also shorter in terms of the bristle because we don't really want to scrub with the sides of this bristle so much as we want to scrub with the ends. So by shortening the bristle, we're making it a whole lot more rigid. And so you can put a lot more pressure into this brush and have it not splay out as much because we're not really interested in the side action of this. We want all these tips that are manufactured to be on the surface. So this is a shorter trim than the dual trim bristles as well. So lots of different things go into the thought process in terms of how and what we do regarding the bristle and the bristle links. And historically, years ago, Tucker used to have these really big jets that would screw into the brushes from the back and the front, right? Old school stuff. And back when we had to service that market for both new and old, what we would have is there'd be these really big pockets of no bristles on the brushes, right? So that we could accommodate the old school guys. But as we've moved forward and really, kind of those guys have adopted the newer technology, and we have these pencil jets inside here needing a much smaller hole. Now we have a lot more bristle in every brush as well. So it's nice to have been able to move on from kind of the OG Tucker stuff and really accommodate the newer users. So yeah, that's a bit on the trim links and the terminology from a dual trim to single trim.
Yeah. So like I said, definitely give that a shot. You will, if you're used to the dual trim, that splay action, give this one a go. I think you're going to really enjoy it. Now, along with that, we recently came out in that the glide concept, the synthetic bristle, we have it's something that's been very popular that I'm seeing a lot of feedback on is the honey badger.
Yeah, yeah. The honey badger is basically a hybrid. So hybrid to us, whether it's poles, brushes, or whatever, means there's multiple materials in one
Right.
product. So a hybrid pole would have carbon fiber and fiberglass in it, right? This is a hybrid brush, so multiple materials. It's a single trim again, right? Even though we have two, we don't just say, well, we want this to be longer, because that's the typical thought process. We really think about how are these things going to perform. So the trim is the same all the way across. It's a short, stout trim, just like on the standard glide brush, but there's this inside bristle that is a really thick bristle. So it's a nylon bristle like this clear bristle is, but the thickness of the bristle itself is a lot thicker. So it's much stiffer on the surface. So you're getting a really aggressive scrub with this, especially in the solar world is where I was envisioning this going in multiple sizes, right? Because they're trying to get off so many different things. The panels are at a different angle, so they're just getting baked. It's a lot harder to clean a solar panel than it is a piece of glass, like a typical window. And they're not nearly as maintained. So we got to get a much stiffer, a much more aggressive scrub on that surface. But the people that have picked these up in the standard size love it for glass because of the same reasons, right? These edges are going to get in those corners. But this middle, which is hitting the contact of most of that surface, is really scrubbing bird droppings, bee pollen, anything like that. So it's a lot more aggressive in terms of the actual scrub on the glass. But again, all the same trim, because you want the tips. You don't want it to splay out and clean with the side of the brush.
A Vineyard View. Oh, we lost it. Sorry, Jen. I popped it off. Vineyard View window cleaning. That's genius. Thank you. I think, yeah, that's obviously the intention was solar, but we're really getting feedback like Cole has been
Right.
mentioning it. It's really great on Windows. So it'll be interesting to hear if you guys, I know there's in certain parts of the country, you get a lot of I forget the fungus, like shotgun fungus,
Artillery fungus.
Artillery fungus.
Yeah.
Let us know if it's cutting through that. That'll be. I know it can vary. Sometimes it's fresh and that's easier, but if it's
Sure.
baked on. But I'd love to hear you guys' feedback on that. So I noticed on these brushes that you had out here, we have a couple different gooseneck options. Maybe we can go into that before
Sure.
we go into other stuff.
Sure. So I think it was 1 year ago this month, we came out with the locked gooseneck, right?
Yeah.
We called it Locktober.
That's right.
That's a year ago we introduced this concept. So you can see on our goosenecks and our brushes, we've got an octagon shaped profile. So this is a quick connect fitting. It's been a standard in the industry for a number of years. I believe Gardner in the UK first came out with a square profile that, basically instead of threading and then trying to decide, okay, well, it's tight, but it's crooked, right?
Yeah.
The square lock, what it accomplished was the ability to lock on, and you didn't have to worry about where it locked, right? It wasn't going to be in any weird spot. So you've got this angle from a square lock, and you've got this angle if you want to get between balcony railings or whatever the case may be. And as you know, we tend to be a little bit ahead of the curve, if you will, at Tucker. So instead of just copying the concept that Gardner had come out with and using a square, I thought about, well, what more could we do, right? And so from an injection molding standpoint, an octagon profile is fairly difficult to accomplish what we wanted. But normally that's how I know I'm onto something, right? If the guys that we're bringing in to assist with the actual manufacturing are saying, well, that's difficult. Well, that probably means somebody hasn't done it, right? So that's what we look for a lot of times from feedback. But essentially, this works in much the same way. There's a locking pin, so you can push this pin in right here. And then in the gooseneck itself, being an octagon profile, you've got a hole not only at the top and the side like you would a square, but one at 45 degrees. So basically, the goosenecks just lock in. Okay, so that's locked right on there, right? No adjustment from a thread standpoint. You get this typical locked location. You also get the 90-degree locked location like you would with a square lock. But you also get what makes this different is a 45-degree because of the octagon profile. So a lot of people like this because you can lock it at 45 and do a triangle shaped window and not have it flopping around like a swivel would. You lock it in, you get that top, you go do the sides, and now you come down, you put it back to the standard angle and you do all your other windows, because typically you've only got one triangle and then a lot of other regular windows next to it, right? Or you got a triangle and then next to it's, trapezoid or whatever that shape is. So that's the idea here is it locks in at 3 different positions. So that's the standard gooseneck. We've also got the Acme threaded adapter on the back, which we've sold for, I don't know, this was the first plastic mold I ever made. And that allows you to screw on our little walnut scrubbers. So this has got a thread on it, threads on, you got a walnut scrubber on the back. So basically you can just thread this on here. And now on the back of the pole, you've got some assistance to get really stubborn things off. So you're scrubbing, you flip over, you give it a little extra, you go back and rinse, right? So that's the locked gooseneck there, that's standard with every pole and brush that we have. And then we have the swivel goosenecks. So the swivel, again, locks into the number 1 clamp with the shaft here, and it just allows for swiveling. And if you're used to or proficient with the pole, you can kind of fan with this as well. If you twist the pole, there's adjustments in terms of how tight this tension is. So a lot of guys want this really loose and others want it a lot tighter in terms of the ability to kind of swivel in and of itself. And then there's the built-in adjustment to actually change the angle of the brush as well. So a lot of adjustability within the swivels. So those are the 2 kind of standard plastic goosenecks that we manufacture.
Yeah. And I would say, going back to the swivel, to your point, yes, you can tighten this down, get it so it's pretty tight. But the concept of this was to swivel. So we get people like, hey, I'm trying this down and I can't get it to
lock,
to stay locked. Well, that's where you have your traditional gooseneck for. Mm-hmm. But like you mentioned, that was my favorite feature of the swivel. I remember when the whole rinse bar craze happened around 2017, and you started prototyping this, the rinse bar and the swivel. This was my favorite part because having a rinse bar with a fixed pane on residential work, I mean, that you're shooting water everywhere that you don't want it to go. But like you're mentioning, with the swivel, you can come at an angle. I do it just like a squeegee, fan down the window. So this was really a game changer for me. Cleaning windows, like I said, back in 2017, just sped up the process so much faster.
Yeah, for sure. And the way that I think about a swivel is, if you're newer or you favor a locked squeegee, right, and you don't want to swivel on your squeegee and your mop, then you probably aren't going to really love a swivel on your water-fed brush, right? It's kind of the same mentality of it's a little more artistic, I guess I would put it, in terms of the way that work is done rather than just up and down, side to side, like the locked positions.
Yeah. We got some comments on here. Let's get on here. SoCal Solar Cleaning would like it if it had it on the side brush, just easier than turning it all the way around.
I think he's talking about the scrub pad on the back. So yeah, it's interesting because from a historical standpoint, there's been a lot of interesting background to using the end of the brush for different things, right? There was a time when the rinse bars were aluminum, and people would lose control for whatever reason of their brush, turn it completely sideways to the orientation you're referring to get to that side, and then they would leave aluminum marks on the glass. And then it was call after call. Oh no, we scratched a window. Well, how in the world, first of all, did you get the back side of the brush or the end of the brush onto the glass surface? That was an interesting conversation always. But the other part of that was you didn't scratch it, right? Anybody that has been around a while knows glass's hardness is a lot harder on a hardness scale than aluminum. So what you've done is you left an aluminum mark on the glass, just like you can see on a lot of new construction, especially with track homes and stuff, or a painter's come through, they set their aluminum ladders right on the glass, no mitts, and they work off the middle of the glass so that they don't have to move their ladder. They're painting the frame of the window. Well, when they do that, they're moving. So those aluminum marks end up on the glass. And pro tip, if you want to make some serious money, go to new construction sites and market the removal of that, because those builders think that's a scratch also, and they tend to replace that glass at the painter's expense, right? On their final walkthroughs. But there's a paste. You can literally get a paste. It's called A-Maze, the letter A-M-A-Z. And you put it on a rag and you can wipe them right off.
Yeah.
And we used to do restoration work on these jobs. And even though I knew the paste existed, because we were charging $45 a piece of glass, we would get out there with a little buffer, right? Because it would take it off just as good, but it made it look like we needed a tool. But you talk about lucrative, hundreds of dollars an hour, because this painter did the same thing on every window. Yeah. And the homeowners found all this on their final walkthrough, right? So, big money in trying to get that deal closed right then and there, because the last thing they want is to replace all those windows and hold up that closing.
Cool. So now, we have we kind of showed off a lot of our standard size brushes.
Yeah.
But I see you got in your hand.
Yeah.
Our XL version.
Right. So we've got larger, right? Commercial and residential, if you will. So we've got a standard and an XL range. This gives you an idea of the size difference between the two. So the standard is the plastic block itself is about 10 inches. Depending on the brush that you have, you might have more coverage with one brush than the other, because it's going to splay out and it's going to, cover, let's say 12 inches, right? But the brush back itself is a 10-inch block, and this one is a 16. So you get quite a bit more coverage. And it tends to be a residential to commercial type thought process in terms of which size. A 16-inch brush on a residential window is fairly big. Yeah. So you want a much bigger sheet of glass to clean.
Yeah. I've heard a lot of people would like to use the XL even on residential, but I think that's where that the locked gooseneck will come into place, because if you do that, you are going to run into windows that are smaller. But by adjusting that angle with, or even with the swivel, you can work at the side angle. So you could use that for residential if you want to really speed up the process.
Sure.
I think it's one we haven't discussed yet. We got it down here in the XL size as well. That is the scrubber. I think that came out in around 2018 or 19. I'm not sure.
Man, time flies. Somebody. I think it was you told me 10 years ago, March, I bought Tucker.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, man, that can't be true. So I'm not the best on when was this in terms of a timeline, but yeah. So these scrub pad concept brushes, right? So we sell them with a rinse bar built in. There's no pencil jets because there's no hole in the pad. The water just flows over the top of this scrub pad. But a couple applications where this really comes in handy. And we do it in both sizes. So this is the XL. There's a smaller one. But anywhere on like a commercial site where you would have large panes of glass that just butt up, there's no frame, right? Okay. And you just cruise over it, because you're not going to get in the corners real well with this. There's no bristle to get in the corner and really get those nooks and crannies. So you want to like curtain wall glass, right? No frames, nothing like that. Or if you see those glass deck railings on residential properties, it's the same principle, right? The rail just extends and you've only got the top and bottom to worry about in terms of scrubbing across the top and bottom. But also in solar, the scrub pads do really well in solar. This particular model is not, in my opinion, ideal for solar because it's so lightweight. This weighs basically nothing compared to a typical brush. So in the solar industry, for that, we have a different product altogether I can grab here. So this is a double rinse bar for solar. This is made out of aluminum. There's a rinse bar all the way across the top and all the way across the bottom, and some other features I'll show you here. So it's got the swivel built in, so you have that control. This is kind of weird because this is our screen, but the camera's up there. Yeah. So it probably looks like I'm not looking at the camera the whole podcast. But so upper rinse bar, lower rinse bar, right? So if you don't have a booster pump or you have a competing system to a Tucker, you probably don't have very good flow. So this needs a lot of water, a lot of flow. And so what we've done is on the upper and the lower, there's actually built-in valves. So if you're in a situation where you don't have enough water, you just turn one of these off and now you're isolating just one rinse bar. But essentially there's a connection right here. These come with, is it 100 feet?
Yes.
100 feet of high flow tubing. The high flow tubing was originally designed to run on the outside of the pole, but we've since included some pieces in the kit to run it up through the pole. It'll run up through the pole. Where we run into the issue is the high flow tubing is not a large enough diameter to fit through this shaft gooseneck, right? So the diameter of the high flow tubing is larger than the red smaller tubing. It's black in color and it won't fit through here. Okay. So we had two options. Do we make this hole larger, or do we come up with an adapter that then sends a small tubing just at the very tip into the brush? And just from a thought process standpoint, where I come from a design and, wanting to make sure we're putting out the best product is if we made this larger, what instantly happens as a result is we make it weaker.
Right.
And so we always have to think, okay, so this is what we need to accomplish, but what's the best way forward? So if we make this larger, the black high flow tubing fits through, but now the wall thickness of this plastic all the way around is so much thinner to accomplish it that these are going to break. And we build equipment for people to just beat the tar out of, right? So this is thicker than the competitors for a reason, because we know that they'll break if they're not. So basically what we've done is there's an adapter that comes on the end of the high flow tubing now that will get you right up through here. It's just maybe 12 inches of short tube comes in here, and it accomplishes the same thing without losing any of the integrity of plastic, which, as we all know, wants to break. Doesn't matter what you do, right? Plastic is going to fail eventually. So that's the idea behind that. But these brushes, they come with a multitude of different options in the kit and or as an accessory that you can buy. So right now, this is showing the scrubbers built in, and any of these scrub pad brushes, these pads, it comes with replacements and they can be replaced. It's a low cost replacement option, but you can also, if you gravitate towards the honey badger style, you can also, in fact, I think there's an option to get these included with your.
That's the standard now.
This is the standard now. So it would come with two of these installed here. So side by side, you have 10 inches of honey badger. So you get a total of 20 inches. And this has a lot of weight to it on purpose, right? You're going to set this on the panel, and this aluminum construction is going to add weight to the actual surface and get you down on the panel and give you a really good scrub. So that's been super popular in the solar industry. And I will say that typically when we do a BOGO deal, this is excluded. But either it went over my head or whatever. So if you see these and it's an interest to you, I would get them. And if you don't think you want to, get a hold of your solar buddy and say, do you want one for half? I want the other one. Because they're not normally in the sale. These are very expensive compared to a typical brush that most people, including us, would manufacture.
Yeah, so our mistake there, but it's a big win for you guys.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that you acknowledge it, and we're going to roll with it.
We're rolling with it. Yeah.
We're rolling with it. Well, that half hour went pretty quick. But I thank you for sitting in, joining us this week. I think it's going to be helpful for you, if you're trying to decide what brush is right. Definitely, if you're coming in late to this is going to be posted on our YouTube channel, Tucker_USA. That's where you can check out all our previous episodes. But this is definitely the guide of, what brush is best for you in your whatever situation that you like. So definitely check this out if you were just now joining us. And if you're just now joining us, you missed out. We have on our website live right now our Tucker BOGO brush sale. So buy one. It's the higher value, right? And then whatever is the lesser value is the free one.
Yeah. So for instance, if you bought the Solar 20 and you wanted to try something else, the other one would be free because obviously the Solar 20 is a lot more. I'm going to go over, we're going to touch on the natural bore real quick.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So the other big one for us is the natural boar bristle. So the natural boar bristle, the pros of the natural boar bristle is this is the best scrubbing material you can get. Okay. Tucker, fun fact, in the 50s, when Tucker started this whole movement, before anyone got into it, right, they made boar bristle brushes. Then the industry went to nylon because this is difficult and it has its downside, right? But this was the original. So the pros of this are that it scrubs better than anything else. Now that's where it stops, right? Yeah. The cons are it's expensive. Also, what happens is the reason it scrubs so well is because on the glass, these bristles lay out and you're scrubbing. This is a natural fiber, literally off the back of a pig, right? So you're scrubbing with the side of the bristle, and just like a wet human hair, if you run your finger along it, you're going to feel that drag. So when this is on the surface, you're going to feel that drag, okay? Well, that's why it's scrubbing so good, but that's also why it wears you out. Yeah. So you're going to get a workout with a natural boar bristle, especially 40 feet and higher. I mean, it's just that much more laborious. So the hybrid came into be because the nylon around the outside would allow you to get a little more glide to it. No pun intended there, but you get a better scrub from the full bore. The other con is because it's a natural bristle, what happens is these break, these fall out, these shed, just like, if we comb our hair, we're going to have hair in our brush, right? So there's some cons to this, which is why we started looking for what's next. And we got into the glide bristle and the synthetic boar. So didn't want to leave the boar out. We sell a lot of boar bristle brushes and certainly a workhorse for many people. And one thing to notice is as they shed, what tends to happen is these just get shorter and shorter. So you end up with a brush that, depending on your business, it could last you 3 months, it could last you 6 months. But if this is your go-to, it's kind of like squeegee rubber, right? Yeah. You're going to burn through it, but you're not going to find cheap squeegee rubber. You're going to use your best, most expensive, most likely squeegee rubber out there. And when I was cleaning glass, one day flipping to the other side, and going through squeegee rubber all week long, right? So it's just a cost in terms of, okay, this is my favorite. I'm going to burn through these, but I didn't want to leave the natural boar out of our discussion today.
Sure. And just real quick, before the glide, I think this is where the BOGO cell really came in, because this is the perfect time now to get those. If you wanted the hybrid, but also boar, and you wanted to save your boar for the heavy duty stuff. This is what you'll do. That way you're not constantly using it. And the locked allows you to just swap those out real fast.
Yeah, it's a good time to, if you're locked in and you know exactly what brush you want, just get two, right? Because one's free, obviously. But if you're not sure, pick up a couple different ones so you can try different things. And you're essentially paying half price for the one that you want to try out.
Well, cool. Thanks for everybody joining us. We really appreciate all your time. And check out our website, Tucker USA. We have our brush BOGO sale starting today, ending on the 7th, and available there and your local dealer. So thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll see you next time.
Very cool. Thanks.